All right, ready? Now, as they're searching, now we're live.
Now we're live.
Yep.
Two things we have to do.
But we're not in a rush.
Two things we have to do.
We're not in a rush. You guys take your time.
We need to get the recording thing up, and we need to have the drum be that instead of the clap.
The drum live?
Oof, that's how you know. We got to get the drum.
I think that you guys were in on the drum, and we got a couple people. We got a couple folks here in the peanut gallery that I'm sure will chime in.
Why would I ask for you to bring the drum if I was out on the drum?
Well, Coach Hank, he brought up the drum as well.
Because it was one of the most interesting videos you posted in a long time.
Yeah, because it feels good, doesn't it?
I'm in. Look at this.
Well,
Look at how we start the cast.
Is that Bennett?
That's Bennett.
Look at the big dog. Look at him.
Look at, he's so confused. Is there a fire alarm in here? Every time.
Every time he just gets a little gym owner, dude. You want to hand me over that wood?
Yeah, get this going.
Yep. So honestly, the drum one was because I was playing the drum by myself in my office.
And it was just the beat.
Yeah, I was just playing the drum.
But like it wasn't like dun 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 dun. It was like dun.
Well, I was practicing.
Dun, 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 dun.
I was legitimately practicing.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the things about the drum, I mean, I've been into sound bathing. That's the umbrella.
I can't wait to be able to do that again.
You'll love this. I'll do a session for you.
Okay.
So I've been into sound bathing for probably, we'll say, 4 years now. And like anything, you've known me as a coach for a long time now. Anything that I come up with or start thinking about doing when it's new to me, it's nerve-wracking.
Well, is this what you did? No, you just did breath work with the Barstool guys, right?
I did sound bowls with them.
That was sound
and
bowls.
rainmakers.
That's the
and
whole
the drum.
thing. So that's a new thing that you do that I haven't seen you do.
Yeah, because
with
I haven't
somebody.
been publicly teaching for a few years now.
Got it. I need you to do that to me.
You will love it.
Yeah, I want to do it.
You will love it.
I can't wait.
You go into such a trance. So, but my point to this is that it's like the first time I ever taught breathwork was at MASH. My first ever time I ever did that with a group of people was at MASH. And I was nervous, right?
Yeah.
It was over 10 years ago.
It was your first time.
First time. And it was just like you spend so much buildup in your head going, am I going to do this? Like, am I genuinely going to sit there and tell people to inhale, hold, exhale?
And you did it so good, you got to the big leagues.
Yeah.
And the big leagues brought you here.
Yep.
And now we're going to do a coffee buzz for the first time in
years.
8 years?
So the coffee buzz thing that hit me when I reached out to you a few months ago about we need to do coffee buzzes when I knew I was coming back here is I was randomly searching through how I wanted to do podcast again. And I asked Rhett this earlier about what's his viewpoint on just podcast.
Can we get a camera on Rhett?
Yeah, Rhett.
Oh, we're not that deep yet. We don't have a crew.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Boom, camera on Rhett.
I'm here. I'm in the room. It's real.
Well, so because when I started podcasting again this past year aggressively, it was more like, okay, well, we started doing this in 2017. So it's like you did 300 episodes and then you took probably 3 years off and then you come back into it and it's like a massive thing. It's like a big, podcast is huge.
Well, I think the thing that's most funny as I look back at it is when we did these podcasts and we started, we had Jon Gordon on one of them.
Yeah.
Like we came out the gates and we were like,
he was in the first
on
30.
podcast with celebrities. And I was just like, all right, I don't know. Here we go.
Remember Jon Gordon, the energy boss?
Yeah. He's like, you got 30 minutes, go. And I said, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And may I have another? And he said, no.
No.
But it was pretty electric to start. Like you were getting some pretty special guests on it. Honestly, it motivated me at the time to be like, hear a story about Brian McKenzie swimming with sharks. Yeah. I remember that one.
And now the Huberman's
electric.
That was the Huberman's thing. That was all Huberman training.
Darren O'Lean was it over at MASH?
We probably should have kept that going. Huh?
You have a network. I have a community.
Yeah, I know.
There's a difference there. Listen to our podcast.
That's
you'll feel the difference.
That's why I got so excited when you brought that up.
Yeah,
because I've had to think heavily about network versus community over the last couple of years.
Well, should we maybe let Red kick us off here and get us into it?
Yeah, well, I wanted to finish the thought about the thought that this one's you. I think you're involved in this one. Like, I think that we're co-hosting this thing at this point.
Oh, okay.
Because in
I got a promotion.
In 2019, I was going through Spotify. I didn't realize that it keeps all the podcast. And I knew that I had this stuff. I just didn't realize you could have it on your Spotify. So I was getting here and I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to podcast again? What did I like about the last format that I used to do? And I went to a random one when we made Nolan wear the Lions mask.
Incredible.
It was like 2018, 2019.
I miss him.
Yeah, and it was so funny. It was I'm not exaggerating this. I was laughing so hard while I was driving that at a couple points I was nervous to be driving because my eyes were watering because I was laughing.
You're going to have to turn that part of your brain on. This will be good for you. This will be healthy. You're going to have to turn the jokester on.
Okay, so that's another thing, goes back to this. One of the reasons why I wanted to come back here when I was viewing, like, where should I live for a few months? I did feel aggressively that I had lost a little bit of the humor because I had to do such professional jobs. And I knew that if I came back here, it would pull itself out again.
Yeah, we work with kids, you know. The majority of the time we're working with kids, so we still are.
Also a funny crew, though.
Yeah, just in general, a very funny crew.
Okay. We got them?
Yeah, I got a few for you.
All right, we got a few.
We got a few. That's more than zero.
How do you balance ambition with personal fulfillment?
How do you balance ambition with personal fulfillment?
Listen, great question. Before you answer it, didn't these used to be like, what would you say if you were a seal? You know, weren't these like really ridiculous, funny questions?
Is that what you wanted?
No.
No, it's not what I want. That's why it's called Coffee Buzz, and that's what I love about it the most is there is no agenda to the questions.
I feel like it was largely around that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find myself again. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're nervous. We're just getting through it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get one more run back because now I got to say it again.
Do you want me to softball you the first question so we can find the flow?
I just want to say it one more time.
Go with the one you were going with.
Okay. How do you balance ambition with personal fulfillment?
How do you balance ambition with personal fulfillment? Go ahead.
Oh, he points at me. Ambition versus person. I don't know. To be honest with you, I feel like those two things are a weird thing to put into a two sentence together. Because ambition and personal fulfillment, those should not run together. It should be personal fulfillment and like day-to-day living, right? Because personal fulfillment, ambition is in the future. You're ambitious if you're thinking about the future, so you can never be fulfilled if you're being only ambitious. I don't know. It's a good question. Let's start this thing over.
No.
He got me on the first one.
Let me take a rip.
I'm sitting here and halfway through my answer, I go, terrible answer.
That's all right. We're getting our sea legs.
Did you
back.
hear that? What was I spewing out of my mouth? I thought I had it for like a half second. I was like, ambition. Yeah, these don't run together. You want to give it a go?
It's nicer when you're just. It's You guys remember the movie For Love of the Game?
Yeah.
And the guy comes up when Augie Garrido throws in the rookie first ever at bat with 2 outs in the ninth.
Wreck it.
And he looks at him and goes, wreck it. And I don't know if this is exactly, but he like takes just 2 hammer hacks at it. And after the first hack, he lines one foul, and Kevin Costner, Billy Chappell, he looks at him, I don't scare you a bit, do I, kid? And that's an electric part. But then the next part is the announcer goes, he just doesn't have the magnitude and he doesn't understand the magnitude of the situation. And I think that's like an ironic thing because when you're younger doing coffee buzzes like this, you don't understand that you're just like dumb enough to just say whatever just comes into your mind. Now, Coach Steve might have become smart enough to not understand what's going on in his mind. So I'm going to take it for a minute and then you'll come back.
Let's get someone dumb to answer this one.
Okay, so the way in which I heard it was you are balancing ambition and personal fulfillment. I think that the balance of them, I'm going to throw it into 2 sides, something Steve and I were talking about earlier today. I'm going to throw ambition into the category ego, fulfillment in the category of essence. Remember I threw that on you earlier?
Did.
And the reason I'm going to say that is because
I think you got a shot here.
I think that you carry this sense of ambition to prove things and desire things in your life that are formed out of your ego largely. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what sustains your ambition. So I have ambition to achieve this thing, external thing. Margaret something, last name, I can't remember her last name, but she had a line that she said, the last illusion is the desire to be loved. And when you no longer the desire to be loved, you've accomplished all the illusions. You've overcome all the illusions. And so I think ambition is like a weird illusion that you actually need to do. You need to have ambitions, and you need to run out external, essentially try to accomplish all the things externally with ambition, which you'll need for your ego, purely to just learn that that ambition can't give you fulfillment. So you need fulfillment to balance the two.
Yeah, ambition is a side gig.
Yeah.
It's a side piece.
But I'm not going to get to personal fulfillment without the action steps of ambition. So, and that's where I think it becomes a paradox on you psychologically, because throughout your whole life, you have these like weird fulfillments and checkpoints where you internally feel fulfilled, and the weirdest part about it is fulfillment is not needing to be accepted or acknowledged by you. Mm-hmm. I don't need your praise. I'm fulfilled. But ambition, I need your praise to get fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so they both eat each other, but they need each other. So that would be my answer to that balance.
That's great.
Much better than mine.
Well, the next question, you got me plugged back
But do you want to
in.
keep going?
No, I don't. I want that question to go away as
Plug
fast as
back into
possible.
our questions you asked when I was in college. What do you think is more important for your soul?
Okay.
Feeling supported or supporting someone else?
What do you think is more important for your soul? Feeling supportive or supporting somebody
Giving
else?
support or giving support?
Okay. What do I think is, I'm going to just frame it. What do I think is more important for my soul? Getting support or giving support? Man, that's a beautiful, and that came out of college?
Yeah.
And he said that?
Yeah, he asked me that when I was sitting shotgun in the Augie vans.
I asked you that question?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was my question.
That was your question. We'll bring you back 10 years later.
Wow, that's beautiful. Then I guess I feel obligated to go first.
You've
I
had
do
this
remember.
for a while.
I do remember that drive. I also think that was the drive that I told. Who were we with? We had two other guys with us, didn't we?
Yeah, it was just the catchers. It was
Yeah.
me, Rydell, and Dittman.
And I think I remember saying to you guys, when they ask us a question and we don't know the answer to it, we're just going to say everyone's different. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do
Yeah, everyone's
remember
different. Because I was going to
everyone's different.
I was going to go and coach a college coaching catching seminar, and I'd never caught or done anything with catching, and I was just going to go and play this bit like I knew what I was doing. So does my soul need to give or get? Can I just bring it to that?
Yeah.
Okay, does my soul need to give or get?
I got an answer for this one.
Okay, I got one too, but you go.
I think I'm going to surprise you.
I'm ready. I'll
I
drink
think
my
your soul
coffee.
has to get. I think that's the better one. I think you get more fulfilled by and this is just something that I've experienced. I think it's great. I think it's joyful. I think that you get pleasure in helping others and supporting others. But when you get true support when you need it most and you're most vulnerable and you're at your low and you're not in a power position, you're in a weak position, you get that support. For me personally, that does it for me. That is so fulfilling for me. It's unbelievable because then you realize all the work you did for that person when they were going through that was genuine and that it meant something to them. So I think traditionally people would think I would answer that question the other way, but today I won't. I think getting support in that situation is better.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that you're right on the traditional response too, right? I think that would be the opposite of what you would traditionally hear, because that's probably what I would have traditionally said. And I think the hard part about a coffee buzz is now hearing your answer inevitably makes me think differently now towards it, because I'm biased.
Well, we're working through the rust. We're getting better.
I think that you're back to what I was just saying on the last one on ambition and fulfillment. You used the word fulfillment just now in that sentiment. But I think that your soul is, this is something that I've been thinking about recently aggressively, is that in the way I understand what this thing is, this reality thing is that your soul wants the experience of your ego, and your ego wants the experience of your soul. And so they're just chasing each other your whole life. And that makes it really fascinating, because it's like, in order to become more of who you are, you would have to be something that you're not. Mm-hmm. And so you're like regularly walking around life living out both of them. And so then I think your soul in this context of the question is, I think it's the exact mirror of like how you perceive reality. So meaning, I don't think any of us interpret any of this the same, because I don't think we can. But
I hope we don't.
No, I don't think we can. I think that's what makes us all unique. And I think the uniqueness of that is your soul. So I think your soul is it's literally a mirror of what's happened, like who you are. So your external thing, the way in which whatever you categorize this thing externally, that is, in a way, that is your soul. So you're getting exactly what you are giving. And I think that in its own sense, they work together.
I mean, I love that. The more I was thinking about this, it's like there's a trade-off there, right? I can be more proud of others than proud of myself, I think. So I think for your soul, you need to get validated a little bit from others. I think that's really, really healthy. But I can be more proud of other people than of myself. Like, you can feel great pride in other people, but I think giving that to others doesn't fulfill your own soul. You need that support. You need that. That's why our inner child talks to us so much. We need that motherly figure to come let us know we're important. That's part of being vulnerable.
I like that. That's beautiful. I'm not going to go over the top of that.
Okay.
What's the most
Let's get a camera on, Rhett.
What's the most important quality that pertains to effective leadership? Like, of all the effective leaders that you know, what would you say is the one thing they all have in common?
Devilishly good looks.
Well, let me say the question just so people can hear it. So tell me if I say this wrong backwards, but what's the number one quality effective leaders have?
From your experience.
From our experience,
Yeah, from
individually.
your personal experience.
Okay.
Not what everybody tells you it is, but what from you have.
All right, so I'm going to say it into the mic, and then you got to go first because of me saying it. Mm-hmm. That's a standard of this one.
I'm going to be a one-word answer.
From my perspective, what is the most effective leadership quality that I've experienced? Mm-hmm. Fair. Okay, you go.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
I don't think it's even close. I think if you're authentic, you go through the goods and the bads with those people, right? Because it's the understanding. If you're being authentic, it's not sugarcoating things. It's not glossing over things. It's not overhyping things. That is who that is, and I know who they are, and I know where I stand with that person. And if they bring that authenticity, it comes back to the willingness to go communicate with that person. So I think the more authentic you can be, the easier the ups and downs are.
Okay, before I go, but how is that authenticity, using that word, how does that leadership affect other people? Like, what's the effectiveness of that leadership quality?
I think it allows for them to do that as well.
To be them.
To be authentic, to be authentically, unapologetically themselves. And if you have a good team, I really always like the analogy of like a football team. You know, like you got an O-lineman, you got a quarterback, you got a wide receiver, you got a safety. You can't play with 11 quarterbacks.
Sure.
So everyone has to be their own part of that team, and you need all those pieces. And so if you got somebody who's pretending to be a quarterback, but in their heart they're an O-lineman, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So you got to be authentic in who you are, because guess what? I guess I don't know, but I'm sure some left tackles get paid more than some quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, just your worth isn't based on the perception of outward. It's what am I great at? And then I believe in quadrupling down on that and not just being like, I'm a jack of all trades. Figure out what you're great at, pursue that, be open about the fact that you're great at it, and then just dominate that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm going to double down on that word, authenticity, and I would use that as well. I'm going to try to come at it from a different angle. But I think that the meaning of every individual life is that. That's why I think that that's the number one effective quality as a leader. I think the leader has the position of leader perceivably because they took the plunge in pursuing that. And I think that leadership materially is obviously driven through hierarchy, but that's where I think anybody who authentically understands leadership is, to your point, it's not actually through hierarchy. I mean, anybody can be a leader. And that's where I think so many people drive home such authentic respect. And I know you and I can both think of people who you respect deeply because you can tell that that's them. Like, that's the person.
Yeah, I never really care about people's goods and bads as much as the consistency of what their goods and bads are.
Right.
So, like, that's how gauging what I'm doing in that conversation is with that individual person, not based on what I think how the conversation should go.
Right.
They're determining to me, here's what I'm bringing to the table today, and I have to figure if that's outside the norm or not.
Yeah, that's why I like the word authenticity, because I think, like I said, leadership, if you were to read a book, generally speaking, on leadership, it's going to bring in a hierarchy, because that's like what it is. Like, that's how we view leadership. And I think is when you pose the question from like our point of view, I would also use the word authenticity, because the pursuit of being authentic is a leadership trait in and of itself, which is arguably the most effective, because that is what I think rubs off as leadership, and you can feel that. And so, using the football analogy, it doesn't have to be what the hierarchy says is the leader. Now, granted, it's really nice when the hierarchy is that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that works out well.
Yeah, and like systems tend to have a lot of success, obviously. But I think that if you're talking about the meaning behind leadership of like a worthy pursuing a mission for all individuals, it has to, in my opinion, has to result in pursuing authenticity, because it's twofold. It's the most fulfilling thing that you can acquire, but it's also the scariest. Because to be you, Jim Carrey, I've said this often, but Jim Carrey's got one of my favorite quotes about authenticity, and he talked about in the entertainment industry, there's two ways to make it, and you make it as somebody that you're not. And what becomes scary about that is you become loved for somebody you're not, and you have to play that role.
Yeah,
and
he's got a bunch of good stuff like that.
And
unfortunately,
he does. Unfortunately, and I'm guilty of this too. I don't think we're above the human code, but I think unfortunately there's a lot of people that you can know who hold some really powerful positions, and you can see the prison around them, because you can tell that they're trapped into somebody that they made years prior, and they can't leave it, and they have to withstand the character that they're playing. And then the second part of that conversation is you can be willing to be yourself, but you have to be willing to be killed for who you are. And I think that that's why authenticity from a leadership standpoint becomes the most effective, because now all of a sudden, if you are genuinely if you are pursuing that, it's not like you complete it, right? But like you're pursuing being authentic. What's weird about that as a leader is now all of a sudden you can see people because you're being you. And that goes back to the last question. I think that's the same thing. Like when you're at least going down that path as an individual, what's weird about the world is those people tend to come to you. And then if that's in a group, that group tends to have a ton of success because the leader is authentic. So now the group can be authentic. It's like the acceptance button.
Yeah, it goes back to you just got to be yourself. Don't overthink it.
Right.
And I think the other thing we got to figure out is, and I'm looking forward to this part. I'm realizing this on the Coffee Buzz part. Like, how are we gonna interact with the people who pop in and out? We've had a couple exits here, which means we got to work on our game a little bit. But we've had some ins and outs. How that's going to be a fun little element to this thing that I think we need to figure out.
Well, I think people are you're going to have to be involved.
We got to keep them involved. What's your next question?
So this we'll get a little bit more lighthearted with this one.
Thank God.
Sorry.
It's Friday.
No, it's fine.
So,
it's fine.
So on like a road trip that's over like 6 hours long.
Love the start of this.
Who is the most undervalued role player? Like, is it the person who's constantly driving, the person who has the courage to ask to go to the bathroom?
How many people we got going on the road trip?
Great question. How many people are in the car?
Let's say you got at least 6.
You got 6 people
you're
big.
In a van. You're in a Sprinter van.
Okay.
You're in a van.
I love that.
I'm going to start with something here that's not answering your question, but this has always been a big pet peeve of mine. If I'm driving and somebody in the back goes, and I'm 36 years old, and somebody in the back goes, hey, anytime you get a chance, can you pull over so I can pee? It's like, what did our parents do to us that is a question that we ask as 36-year-old people? Like, do you need to piss? I will pull over on the next stop. Is it that important that I get to my destination? And I grew up in a house like that. I'm not going to lie. I grew up we already stopped at a gas station. There will be no more peeing. That needs to go on road trips.
Yeah.
I think we need to fix that. Millennial generation, your kid needs to pee. Just pull off and let him pee. Okay. Second.
So the point is, who's the hero of the 6 in the Sprinter van?
In the Sprinter van, You got 6 people. Let's do the roles, right? We got to probably figure out what the roles are. 1, you have the driver, very underrated role. 2, you have the person in the side seat. That's who's navigating. That's who's keeping you on track. 3, you have the person back behind the driver, who is usually the most quiet. We'll call that the quiet guy.
Yeah.
4th, you come over here. That's going to kind of be your overall jokester. They're the middle. So they have to relate to both the side person, quiet, the person up front, and bring the people back into the conversation.
You got to bring this home. You got to keep
so
doing
they're back there. Then you go back to the back 3. These 3 are probably really good friends because they've chosen to sit together in a pod of 3. And one of those people sacrificed a chair up front to be a back middle. So you got a back middle, you got a back right, which I've usually seen as the shouter, right? The shout, change the music, do this, right? And then you got the far left guy, total wild card spot. So I think immediately we eliminate the far left back guy.
I mean, that's 7, right? First of all. Yeah, the math on that's 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
7 hours with 6 people in the car.
Sorry, I thought 6 passengers, 1 driver.
I'm just doing the math a little bit.
6, you meant 6. So, well, we're getting rid of the guy in the back left anyway.
I was just completely locked in. I was with you the whole time. I didn't even notice it until he said it.
The guy in the back left's gone.
I think you're just super on a roll.
And anyone who did listen to
make
this,
the trip.
if they're sitting back left, they're going to think, because it was so clearly get rid of back left. Because they didn't bring anything to the table.
Yeah.
They're gone.
That's
and
how
I want
it
you to
happened.
pick it up from here.
That's how it- that's
now
how-
the stage is set.
Historically, how it went from 7 to 6 is what you just said. Because everyone knew that 7 man in the back left, it didn't make sense, so they went to 6.
He's sleeping.
I think
he's
the thing
complaining.
that stands
Or
out to
she.
me, I think the thing that stands out to me heavily in something that you nailed unbelievably accurately, and I think this is who I'm going to give the hero of the trip, is the guy or gal who is age dependency, doesn't matter in this scenario, I don't think, who's sitting in the passenger seat behind the driver in the quiet spot. And the reason why,
That's the guy.
the reason why that's the hero is because there's nobody else in that Sprinter van that will have to wear the consistency look backs through the rearview mirror of the driver.
Wave to the driver.
Yeah. And any person who has the soul and the ambition to make it through an entire ride like that and weather the amount of looks and keep a comfortable driver, to me is the young son hero of the trip, and that's the hero.
I love that answer. I'm going to go a different route. I think back middle is the most important guy. And here's why. Back middle is going to talk to if back middle and front right navigator can have a relationship, we got something special here.
I agree.
Because back middle and navigator have the biggest responsibilities. Navigator has to be on. We take a wrong turn, they're getting heckled, drivers mad at them. There's a lot. They have to stay focused. If back middle, who sacrifice themselves for the worst seat, can bring a positive attitude all the way up to front right, we're having a heck of a car ride.
That's such a great answer. Such a great answer.
That's why we need more of those
There you have
questions.
it.
I need less ambition questions on these. I need more car ride questions.
Well, I think we stop there. I think we stay where we're at. I think we digest this one.
Yeah, we really struggled at the first part.
I think we soak it in. I think it. And from what I've understood, it always comes out better than what you think.
It's pretty bad.
I think that you'll be surprised.
Okay.
All right, folks. Happy Friday. Enjoy it.
Enjoy the buzz.